the introduction or the entry of privatization of higher education. That new trend is coming. This is not new. Now it is established in India. But the philanthropy is turning down. The charity, education to be provided in a free way, or who wants that now, philanthropy is going to change. We have to notice here. Another thing is that fast growth in self-financing private sector, leading to decrease of public sector. Comparatively, the public sector, now the private sectors are there. If you see just now UGC had declared the Institute of Eminence, equally 10 private sectors, 10 public sectors. That means they are now equally contributing in higher education and entering into the higher education, and we have to notice it, we have to accept it, the existence of self-finance or private institution in higher education, and how collaboratively, togetherly, private and public sectors will come together and give the result which we are expecting in the higher education of this nation is the things we have to consider. Expansion in self-finance courses in public universities, that is also one of the aspect. You see now in the universities, which are public universities, by largely knowing, there are some department or some courses or some schools, they are fully self-financial. That also there. So it is a mixed mode now. Public, though it is a public university or institute, but there are some courses, they are aided, there are some are self-finance. That also things is there. The interesting thing is now we have to see the access and privatization is taking a vital role in the higher education. And how much is about 50% higher education institute worldwide from the private sector. Also, if you see not only in India, but also the country where the more than 50% private institutions are contributing in higher education. That countries are Brazil, Chile, Philippines, Japan, where more than 50% private institutions are contributing in higher education, giving access to different courses and all these things. Then we have to accept some changes in higher education, and that is the first change in the higher education is that the reduced level of public financing comparatively to the who are seeking admission in higher education, access to the higher education. All seekers or all aspirants will not be on the public finance expenses fulfilled. And for that purpose, the private sector has been entered, just now we have discussed. Then the percentage of student teachers in that also going to change. Previously it was, if you see the division wise, then student wise, then course wise, and if you see any university department, the perfect ratio of one professor to associate professors and 4 assistant professors, that scenario, that also now, though it is on the paper in the policy, it is not there. There are so many retired professors and immediately they are not recruited immediately. So we have to see that how the government will recruit that positions immediately after the retirement, or what the time gap arrangement we have to see. The university has to find out the solution, the college has to find out the solution. That is why non-recruitment of the teachers at the right time is also one of the things we have to see in the changing scenario of higher education, and for that temporary solutions we have to find out. Rapid privatization, just now we have discussed about it. The all adversely affect impartial access to the quality of higher education. What happens due to this? student-teachers ratio, not recruitment of the teachers, raising the cost of higher education, and it is hampering the quality of higher education, friends. And that is why what can be done in higher education, and the government commitment to the funding of higher education, which is expecting 6%. We have to again and again knock to the door of the higher education, so that 6% of GDP to share in the higher education to be allotted. Then out of that 1.5% of GDP to higher education need to be allotted. Focus on quality and equality need to be ensured. Operation Blackboard like schemes government has initiated sometimes, but in higher education now government had taken a right decision. MHRD had taken a very excellent schemes, but we have to monitor its impact. Such a schemes like a RUSA, Pandit Madan Mohan Malviya, National Mission for Teachers and Teaching, is one of the very important initiative taken by the UN. And there are Nishta, there are Diksharambha, there are other initiatives has been taken by the government just now. They are recent. Still some schemes up the has to be initiated just now. Some had initiated last 2 years, and the impact we have to see in higher education. But these things are there. And the impact of every scheme to be confirmed, so that really it changes the higher education or not. The online degree to be introduced now, it is in need of the hours, so that so many those are out of the stream, they can anywhere, anytime they can learn and acquire their degree and acquire the higher education, so that objectives of higher education can be achieved. Interesting thing is that we have to see again as a teacher in higher education, the creation of knowledge at a college level, whether it is happening or not by doing a proper research, relevant research or not. It's an interesting thing, we have to see. The first and important aspect of higher education is creation of knowledge. Normally what happens, the objectives of higher education, when we talk about, we see the aspect of higher education, that is the research, teaching and extension. But the objectives of higher education is, first is the creation of knowledge. Then teacher has to ask a question, really I am creating knowledge? Then second objective is to store the knowledge in the form of book, in the form of reference book, in the form of research dissertation, in the form of thesis, in the form of publication of a research article or any other publications. We have to do that, so that we will store this knowledge and can hand over to the next generation by storing this knowledge. Another aspect is that very important aspect, and which we have to see it, that is the dissemination in the classroom. That means classroom delivery. Whether I am using only a lecture, along with that the discussion method, discovery method, interactive method, some teaching aids or technology which is a PowerPoint or other videos, web-based learning, such things we are really using it and making the classroom delivery enriched and interesting, so that the more and more people will learn in the classroom and learning outcome will be raised. That is the responsibility of a teacher of a higher education. And the last and important thing is that we create wealth in the higher education. We store knowledge, we deliver knowledge into the classroom or through the technology in a distance mode or online mode, out of the classroom also, beyond the classroom also. But what to do with all these things? Created knowledge, stored knowledge, disseminated knowledge, what to do with all these things? And we need to create a wealth through this knowledge, so that only we can raise our economy, achieve our economical growth, and through that created wealth, that wealth will be established to establish a social equality and social justice in the society, to establish a peace in the society, and that is the real aim of the higher education. Friends, hope that this discussion will give you a holistic approach of, along with teaching my own subject, what is the scope of higher education. You need to consider and you need to notice it, so that your duty to realize the creation of knowledge, storage of knowledge, dissemination of knowledge, and creating wealth through knowledge, at least you will contribute in these 4 objectives, or you can create a human resources through the higher education, which afterwards they can create a knowledge, they can store knowledge, they can create a wealth which will really enrich this country, make a powerful this nation, and which is really a aim and goal of higher education. We have to realize it by understanding higher education very properly and performing our duty. Wishing you best for that. Dhanyavad.